Hello and welcome to part 2 of Broadsword Academy Sacramento introductory course, Footwork today. To begin, let's imagine staring at an opponent, and this is going to work for a right-handed fencer, reverse it if you're left-handed. Both feet pointed at the opponent, move your left foot 90 degrees off of that original line so heels are touching. Put your left hand on your left hip, kind of try and turn your body so it's profiled so that way your opponent can see as little of your chest as possible, your shoulder kind of pointed directly towards them, and then this is considered first position. Easy enough to remember because it's first. From your first position, what I want you to do is imagine a line at the top of your toe. Bring your heel to that line. Now there's 1 foot length between the heels of your 2 feet. Now go roughly half of another foot length, or you could go as much as another foot length, but for beginners, let's recommend 1.5 feet length. So your heel goes to where your arch was before. So now we have 1.5 feet length between the heels. This is your basics kind of starting position for your feet. Now we're going to bend our knees, sinking down so that we can load some weight and get a little bit more mobility from here. Naturally, for most people, you're going to end up with your weight centered between your 2 feet. This is less than ideal for early broadsword tradition. It changes a little bit later in British military saber. But for now, what we're going to focus on is not being in the middle. Instead, have most of the weight on your rear foot. This frees you up for various things we'll discuss later. But a thing to think about is if you need to move this leg, say a cut is coming at it, we have a thing called a slip. So if a cut is coming at your knee, instead of defending it with your sword, you can just move your leg out of the way, the slip. You can either move back, this is a deep slip, or you can go from second position just to first position. Heels come together, straighten your legs, you're back in first position, you just did a slip. So go back to second position. Step out roughly where you feel, and make sure your weight is over your left leg. This frees up for other activities. So first, second position. With those 2 positions understood, let's move a little bit. In advance is when you move towards your opponent or target. So what we're going to do is we're going to move our front foot 6 inches to a foot. It changes a little bit. Just kind of take a small step forward with that front foot. A little foot step forward. Then your back foot follows that same distance so that way your feet maintain the correct distance between the heels. Weight over the rear leg. That's in advance. We can practice a couple times. Advance, advance, advance. Okay, you've moved as far as you can in your area, or your opponent is now pushing against you. They're advancing. The opposite of an advance is called a retreat. You do it in the opposite way. You start with the back leg, move it 6 inches to a foot, front leg follows. So that way you maintain your distance. Retreat, retreat, retreat. What's a good practice? Every single time you finish advancing or finish retreating during your training, try and slip that front foot. Either slip it all the way in a deep slip or go to first position. A way to tell if you had your weight too far forward is before you slip, you had to shift your weight back to move your foot. Try and avoid that. So in your practice, advance and retreat as much as you would like, and then go to first position or that deep slip and see how you have to adjust your center of gravity to do that. So that's your advance and your retreat. Now let's talk about a lunge. So from second position, a lunge, let's end in the lunge first. It's a big step forward to try and cover as much ground as possible. What you want to avoid is ending in a position where your knee is either way behind your heel or way in front of your toes. Both of these extremes have various disadvantages, both in terms of sword fighting and your potential health, physical health that is. So what we want to try and do is target to have your knee over the middle of your foot. It can be a little bit adjusted within that, but let's have that as our goal. We're going straight forward, so we should end in kind of this position. Ideally, your torso more or less upright, chin high, looking at your opponent. You should not be leaning forward. You should not be leaning back. The back leg should be straight, and then the foot should be flat on the ground for this tradition. Now, let's talk about how we get there. You're in second position. A lot of people, what they end up doing is they kind of fall forward. You're taking a step, just like you do with your normal step. You're in second position, you fall forward. And yes, you can end up in a position that looks more or less correct, but how you get there is important. What we want to do is we want to make sure all that weight is on our back leg, and it's like spring powered right now. It's loaded and ready to go. Instead of falling, you're going to lift your foot up slightly, and then you're going to explode with this back leg. That back leg is going to shoot you towards your opponent and give your attack the impetus to actually work correctly. So lift up that foot, go forward. You catch yourself in the sense that you don't want to fall on your face, but you're not falling and like a walk. You end up in this position with that nice explosive step. Here's your lunge. This is called third position. To get out of here, what we want to do is bend this leg slightly and then push off with the front leg to go back to second, making sure that we end in that weight over the back leg position. It's kind of easy to end up centered. Just try and shift back as quickly as you can. And that's your second to third. So to practice this, you can practice lunging all day. Just be in second, go to third, second, third. It's fine. But let's bring it all together into one activity. Go into first position. Look at your opponent. Second position. Advance, advance, advance. Try that slip. See how much you had to move your foot. Okay, try to go to first. Feels good. Go back to second. Retreat, retreat, retreat. Go to first. How did that feel? Repeat that as many times as you would like. Come back. From second position, lunge. Recover to second. First. Second. Third. Second. First. Repeat as many times as you would like. We'll go over more advanced footwork at a different point in time and stringing these together to be more useful in an actual sword fight, but those are the basics we need to cover today. Your first, your second, your third, advance, and retreat. That's it. Next we'll move on to using the sword itself.